middle of a talk show.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Okay, we are live. So welcome back to Collaborate to Elaborate talk show for my audience who have been watching me in the past year and before. I did almost 75 plus talk shows, both virtually and few face to face as well. After that, few there was a few months gap. I was focusing more on my career and different things going on. Then I resumed the talk show back in this year, and I'm happy to say that meeting Sukant, right, and he's from Bangalore. He has a very good amount of experience in the field he's working on. Um, so before I give you the stage, Sukant, I'll just talk a bit about myself. I think this is the
Mhm.
first time we're meeting face to face virtually.
Yeah.
So my name is Dr. Ankur Rajan Verma. I'm from Pune right now, but before that I was in Mumbai. I have been through many countries for different work assignments, and I started my career back in 2000. Right, so almost 26 years I have been in this industry. From my college days, I worked on microcontroller assembly level programming. So right now, till private cloud and how things are going around in the AI world, it's very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
A few weeks back, I was invited as a keynote speaker on Lala Lajpat Rai College of Management, Mumbai. So I gave a speech on emerging AI technologies and the startup ecosystems, and it's very fascinating to even go through the different topics and talk to the students. So it was a fun week and fun month, I would say. So I would like to introduce you, Sukant, to my audience. Would you like to introduce yourself and talk something about yourself?
Yeah, sure, Uncle. Firstly, thanks for having me. I'm absolutely excited to be here as well. So, as you said, I'm named Sukant Kumar, and I have approximately, I would say, about 21 years of experience in the IT industry, typically starting in 2005 with infrastructure. So, you can typically say that I'm one of the guys the companies call when their infrastructure is confused, their identity systems are misbehaving, or the servers decide to take an unscheduled vacation. So that's where it all started with. Currently, I'm working as an associate director at Kyndryl, where I lead cloud identity and infrastructure programs. I mean,
Wow.
in simple terms, if it has to do anything with Active Directory, Entra, IGA, PIM, PAM, and a lot of other abbreviation, uh, I'm the person to go to. And recently, in the last, let's say about 2, 3 years, I've spent a good chunk of my time in security operations. That's something that I have picked up. I've worked on SOC, SOAR automation, vulnerability management. I've been part of in my career. This was one of the best experiences. Very tough one is being part of a major ransomware incident recovery. I mean, imagine coordinating global teams,
Yeah.
rebuilding systems, and on top of that, keeping everyone calm. So basically, you can say it is an IT version of an action movie minus the explosions. So before Kyndryl, I mean, obviously Kyndryl was previously IBM, so we were spun out of IBM. I've worked on leadership roles at EXL, Wipro, and my initial first stint with IBM, managing data center environments, modernization programs. So, I started, I think, same time around you, Ankur, 2005. So we can probably say this with confidence that, you know, we have seen everything from servers that are older than my coffee mug to platforms that they think they are smarter than all of us. So it's it's a good journey. It's been a good experience. I have performed varied roles from tech administrators, system administrators, into SMEs, delivery management, project management, client support managers, contracting. I've served as IT architect. I designed solutions, and then I moved into the leadership roles from a techno management perspective.
Pretty
That's pretty.
impressive. Yeah. No, that's pretty impressive. Right from infrastructure, where I'm sure you have seen all the hardwares that that was involved long back in the days, right? And now
Yeah,
it's
floppy
mostly.
disk. I still remember them. How you have to secure it from dust, even if a particle goes in. How
Uh-huh.
much was it? Uh,
1.44 MB, right?
1.44 MB.
Yeah. So the smaller one, the bigger ones. Yeah. I mean, we can
Yeah,
talk a lot about it. That really refreshes a lot of memories from those
it
days.
does. I mean, still have the ringing sound of modem dialing in. Those days, I mean, people today won't understand what that means. And if if it was a stable connection, you wouldn't want to touch anything. It used to run after you. Like, don't do anything, let it run. So it used to be from those days, the way and the speed at which IT industry has evolved. It's literally looking like in a rapid mode, and it's still doing that. I mean, if you see every, I would say, 8 to 10 years, there is some next level of disruption. First, the client server model came, then came the virtualization. From virtualization, it came into cloud, containerization, and now AI. So there are a lot of things that change. But if you look typically at the cycle, it's somewhere between, I would say, 8 to 10 years, technology drastically evolves.
Right. That's very true. And everything revolved around the customer experience and how we can
Yes.
make things better for the customer. And I think that leads to our topic that we're going to talk about. So I was doing some bit of reading myself on SLA and
Mhm.
XLA, right? And it's very interesting. It's not that the term XLA is totally brand new,
Yeah.
but the way it is putting things forward, it's really really necessary. I think this term, I think, came around 2010, those
Yeah.
days, right? But I was trying to debate with the AI itself, right? Why we need XLA and why SLA, and there has to be a particular weightage, and the domain XLA also is key to
Yes.
getting things ready, right? So
And I think,
very, very true.
what happened is, I mean, traditionally, if you look, I mean, we both have been part of that industry, and we have seen how the metrics and SLA system were designed. They were predominantly targeted on availability. That's the main criteria
Yeah.
on which everything was measured. The uptime of a server, uptime of a service, everything was whether you are able to have or you are allowed to have 1000 minutes of downtime on an active directory service in a year. So if it does that, you meet the SLAs. But think about it, that 1000 minute happens at the peak period for a client. So if I have a client who
Yeah.
is into media and entertainment, and their peak period is the festive season around the year end, and if that time my Active Directory is not available, people are not able to authenticate, get into the systems, and perform their day to day jobs, that would mean even though I have met my SLAs, the client will not be happy,
Right.
because that's where XLA comes into picture. So initially, if you look at it, it is, it is one of those terms that still sounds a little bit buzzwordy types, because it's something which is gaining some traction in the system and in the environment now. But once you understand it, it completely changes how you think about IT service delivery as a whole. Now, if you look, Excel is, for the benefit of everyone, Excel is experience level agreement. So usually, if I have to put in a very simple term, SLA is equal to, the server was up 99.9%. And for the same environment, if I'm measuring XLA would be, did the user have a smooth frustration free experience. So that's the difference between, at a very layman term, difference between what SLA and XLA is. Why XLA is gaining more traction these days? Because based on the clients that I work with, did some research on my own, I've been in touch with different communities within CISM and CISSP and even my PMI circles. Uh, Client these days are not just looking for service delivery. Previously, it used to be I was managing my infra, I will contract with the service provider, and the service provider provides me service based on the contract. That's the end of the deal. This usually used to happen because the industries who were outsourcing this work, they were not primarily IT industries, and they want to, as part of contracting, if we look at contracting basic definition, it's about passing on your risk to a supplier so that he manages the services for you. That was the whole idea of it. In today's world, as you recently said, you have been to the AI forum and the startups. So startups are coming up. There is a lot of talent in the market, and the big companies, the companies that have been in the environment for a long time, they want to give their employees good experience. They want to retain those talent. So retention of talent, considering the current generation and how it is evolving from a work-life balance and culture perspective, they want people to be retained in the environment. They want the talent to be attracted. Now, talent attraction will not only happen if if the employees say, I have a very good, I don't know, Alienware, good hardware gaming laptop that's provided by the company. It's about what their experience is, what their journey of joining an organization is. How do they feel connected to the organization? How valued they feel? All those things, because these are the people who are consuming the IT services, the applications, the infrastructure as a service, PaaS, SaaS. All these are technical terms, but at the end of the day, everything translates into experience for a client or client of client. And if I can deliver that, if I can measure that, then I can align my strategies, my roadmaps to how I can improve the overall service while delivering it and transforming it in a way that the consumers of those service feel valued. Now, when I did my design thinking course, when I was doing my IT architect certification, one of the key things that was, I would say, the base foundation of solutioning used to be keeping the user at the center of what you are designing. That's the basic fundamental of architecture. So we typically design solutions for the users. That was something which was missing in SLAs. SLAs was giving me availability of consumption, but not the quality of consumption. So the
Right.
quality of consumption came into XLAs, and it's something that um, you know it helps define how the service runs. It helps defines how user satisfaction, ease of completing activities, your friction points in the workflows are minimized. Um, there are emotional sentiments that are, I mean, and typically if you order something from Amazon, even if it gets delivered on time, if the experience with the delivery agent was not good, you would still rate it a 1 or 2 star. So it's
Correct.
not just one aspect of, I mean, the product is delivered to you, but the overall experience of that being delivered to you is probably the reflection of the end-to-end workflows, the frictions, the emotions, the sentiments involved in a service. So that's where XLA has started playing a major role. And as I said, industries and companies today do not just look for keep my server up, they look for how my users are experiencing the service that I'm providing to them.
Yeah, no, you are right. Because even when I was doing my seminar, and the key point was, it's not just that the startups, they are building a product, or making just the slide deck or the pitch deck for the investors, right? That was not the key. That's what I was trying to explain the student as well. The key is addressing customer pain point. How
Yeah.
would you in your words, how would you increase a better experience for them, right? Not only the consumer, but also the creator, right? So you look at both sides, and domain based experience matters a lot, because if I'm doing banking, right, I would want to do things with my transactions quicker. I want it to integrate better, right? I don't want to spend time just trying to get to my account balance, right? For example, a small thing.
That's a very good example, Ankur. Imagine your parents and my parents' days. They would have spent hours standing in lines of banks and post offices and electricity bill and all those stuff, right? All those things, we saw the transition from those days to the way that we operate, but the current generation doesn't even know what standing in line in a bank means. So it's
Yeah,
about creating those experiences. So it's that's the reason I said it's all changing. We do this on a day-to-day basis. We technically, if you see, inherently human are designed to attach experience and sentiment to everything.
correct.
We have this is probably, I would say, encoded in our DNA to look at things that way. It's just that um, in the delivery, in the IT service delivery, it was not being looked that way. Now when it is understood, so I'll give you an example. Mostly if you see the experiences that have I had, um, digital workspace, service desk, cloud and SaaS services, end user computing, identity access management, and as I gave the example, employee onboarding and offboarding. These are the things that you see in the IT industry. XLA plays a major role. Now, imagine if a person wants an alternate email address or wants an email address changed because the ex person got married and they changed their name. Now, if it is very tough, it should be so simple that, obviously the person got married, it's going to be a tough life anyways, so let's make the email id change a little easier. So these are all the things which makes the overall experience of an employee or experience in that industry far much better. And we measure it. I mean, other the work that I do, we have put in a system where we actually measure it. So you can define XLAs, but then how do you measure them? There are two aspects of it. One is around how much time it took for you to deliver a service. So first you identify those services which are supposed to be standards, which can be automated, which can be fulfilled automatically. Time to fulfillment is minimized, or it is in tandem with what the user expects. And second is the experience. So even if, let's say, for example, take an example of email change itself. I have put in a system, there is already a catalog in which a user can go, pick up the request, fill in the details, submit, and it gets delivered automatically through automation within the next, let's say, 30 minutes. I have the automation in place, but in certain cases, let's say I have put some sort of an approval workflow in the environment. So that goes through an approval. Now, if the manager who's supposed to approve or the approving authority is not available and the approval delays, so in those cases, once the request is fulfilled, there is a survey sent out to the user. How did he feel about it? Simple mood marbles, not too complex. If we had too many questions and too many things to it, people tend to not respond back to
Ignore
that.
it. Yeah. No, we have
Yeah, so
done that always. Yeah. So we need simple emojis. Okay, this is how I like this part
that's
of the.
it.
Well
Yeah.
said. Yeah.
And once they respond back, and then you do a deep dive. So if the user says that for something which was supposed to be fulfilled in 30 minutes and he says it took long, then you go and deep dive to understand what went wrong. It could possibly be, in this case, the workflows are working absolutely fine. It
Yeah.
is the person who's supposed to approve it that is causing delays, but the end user doesn't care whether it's the manager or any other approving authority because of which it is delayed. For him or her, it is delayed. So in those cases, we have to again rejig the system a little bit. We have to put some controls in place so that we can automatically have conversations with the approvers, make it easy for the approver to approve the request as well. So his experience of approval improves, the overall workflow, and as I said, the friction within the workflows in the system decreases. The shift moves from a DSAT to a CSAT. This is all, these small steps in different areas, identification of automation opportunities, standardization of your services, how you perceive your service from an end user perspective, putting in a system and a governance in place that not just measures, it also corrects based on the feedback that's given by the user. All these things combined together gives an, I would say, an improved and an ever improving service to the users.
Yeah, no, very well said. Because the main thing, I think, I mean, you said a lot of main things, but what I captured was continuous process improvement, right? The
Yeah.
correctness. That's so essential. I remember back in the days, and you gave that approval example, which is, I think, very common in IT, where
Yeah.
you give something and, approval takes place. And I've seen systems where people can, if you want to grab a water, it's fine. So I've seen systems where people can pre-approve things, right? Because I was also speaking to a few of the managers in my past companies, right? And they said, okay, I never got those approval emails, so maybe it went in spam, or maybe I have two emails. It's a merger or acquisition, because I was part of Cytel, which had Tata Infotech, then it merged to TCS. So there's a lot of things going on, right? So they said, okay, I have two emails. I never got email on this and that. So we always improved and listened to every responses from the customer, right, which can be on either side. And we said, okay, so if you didn't got a mail here, we need to improve system so it sends email to multiple
Yeah.
emails, right? That can be approved. At that time, voice IVR was not a very common thing, but now you can do voice IVR. You can call that person and say, oh, approval is waiting, right? Pre-approvals can happen. I remember there are many systems where managers, they know these five things are gonna come, so they can pre-approve it, right? So that's gonna save time. Approval channel factors can increase, right? Voice, email, chat. Now things are limitless. It's just to your imagination.
Obviously,
Yeah,
you gave an example of chat. That's recently something that we have been exploring. You can literally go to Teams and there can be a bot which can go and
yeah,
pop up to the approver. They just need to click on approve or reject button and it's done. Everything's taken care in the backend by the API.
correct. On their
All
mobile,
this,
right? So what else you
yeah,
need?
it's so easy. So as I said, means the whole idea is to make it easier for the consumer. The technical complexities of setting up the API, the automatas, and all this kind of stuff, that's for the techies to handle. And we
Correct.
have been handling it for a very long time. It's just that instead of doing it using X platform, we are doing it using Y platform.
Right.
The whole conversation, I mean, my one of the examples that I, or rather, one of the two examples that I typically quote in these cases is, imagine, I mean, you have an office, a brand new building, a new startup, and everything. You have got people joining in, and you have, included all high tech, modern stuff in your office. A high tech coffee machine is there as well. Now, the coffee machine is up 99.99% time. It it gives you coffee. It is always online, and every technical metric that you have, it says is performing perfectly.
Right.
So from an SLA perspective, that's like, superstar coffee machine. It gives you good coffee. People are supposed to be happy with it.
Right.
But then here's the twist. So imagine every morning when there's a rush of employees, when they come in, you see employee line up in front of it,
Yeah.
frustrated because the time it is taking to dwell out cups and everything. So imagine it is taking somewhere between 1.5 to 2 minutes, or yeah, so let's say 2 minutes to brew a cup of coffee. The menu is too complex. There are too many options. It it randomly forgets, let's say, your last selections and everything. Touch screen sensitivity, and there are some issues with that. Some people have to double click on it. So even though the machine is available 99.99% time, the experience that a person trying to get a cup of coffee is not what is expected. So what happens is that your overall, people start complaining. Now, if you look at the amount of time, so if you have 100 employees, 100 employees are spending 3 minutes per coffee per day. So if somebody is taking, let's say, 3 cups of coffees in a day with 100 people, it's about 1,000 minutes of productive time that is
Wasted.
wasted in getting a cup of coffee. So it's not just about experience, it correlates to all these things. The more easier you make it for your employee, for your user to consume these services, it makes him, more productive. He feels that the environment is productive and good for him, and in those cases you will see that people are having good experience, so they tend to be more aligned with the company
What?
strategies, the vision.
Yeah.
So it summarizes everything into an experience of an employee and how you can make it easier for him to be honest, be productive.
Yeah, and do what it is he's hired to do, right? I mean, you didn't hire
Yeah,
an employee to wait in a coffee line. So, you know,
exactly.
so that should be the prime matrix, and that's it's a very good example. Happens in most of the organization, but I think what the key aspect what you're bringing to the table is not just a coffee machine, right, and not just employee. You're talking about the overall experience and how you can improve things and not leaving anything any stone unturned, right? You're looking at
Yeah,
things with absolute clarity and with absolute pre-experience that you have, so that you can improve things going on the way. You gave an example about the grandparents or parents standing in a queue,
yeah,
and it doesn't take always technology to solve things, right? You need to understand, when you went to some of the banks, when they saw people standing, they gave them seats where they can sit, right?
that's
They gave
extended.
them water to have something while they are waiting. So you can increase or improve experience in so many ways.
Yeah,
And technology should be the last factor, if not the least, to think about, right? You need to think how this whole thing will turn end to end, 360-degree, and then when you deliver something, then you look for technologies, right? And
yeah,
it's happening with AI and AI startups, because I've been actively talking on those topic. The startups, they are kind of focusing mainly, I would not say all startups, but some are focusing on new technologies and the buzzwords, and you can see them failing eventually, right?
yeah,
Because if you don't look at experience, which you said correctly, and if you don't look at actual pain points that you want to solve, these buzzwords are just enablers, right?
yeah. It's I think um, there's a very big misconception that if you have good technology, it works. Not in all cases.
Yeah,
If you have good technology and it doesn't work for people, it doesn't solve a problem, it doesn't make somebody's life simpler or easier, that is not solving any problem. It's that technology is of technical, if you ask me, or a technology service product, it's of no use. I mean, take
absolutely.
an example of how things evolved with Nokia, BlackBerry. Good tool, everything fine. But then when there are smartphones that arrived into the market, they were giving a better experience, a product combined with service giving a better experience. And if you do not pace up, no matter how good technology you have, it will eventually fade out of the market. Because at the end of the day, if I'm taking this phone, it's me who is consuming it. It's not the phone that is getting services consumed by itself. It had the user sitting at the end of the I would say the product. If he is not getting a good experience, he would switch away. And that's the reason, as you said, I mean, quite a few startups fail to understand this, and that's the reason they fail. If they're not, they might think that they're solving a big problem, but how is it being consumed by the person who was consuming it previously? How do they think that there is an experience that I was getting previously, and now that I'm getting it is better or improved? These are the key things. Very good recent example would be a very simple thing: employee onboarding and offboarding.
Hmm.
So we identified that there are different people belonging to different levels within an organization, working on different techs, different suites, different tech stacks, different profiles. Now, there used to be time that we would stock high-end laptops versus normal laptops. So what we started thinking about is how we can preempt what would be the requirement for um, a very high-end hardware laptop or a basic laptop. So we started looking at who requests these laptops. So we started building personas. So if so, we took help from Workday. If a person belongs to this supervisory organization, belonging to this technology, reporting into this manager, having this as a job title, these are the 4 or 5 criteria. If it meets, that person would need a high-end laptop. So, as part of the onboarding process, when the form is filled, if all these conditions are met, the user doesn't even need to request for a laptop anymore. It
Hmm.
automatically picks up and it is shipped to the user. Now, what happens is previously the user would have to go talk to the manager. How can I get X laptop? And in most of the cases, they are supposed to have a high end laptop. So this made it a lot easier, not just from a consumption perspective, but from our perspective to maintain our inventory as well. We could then correlate trending on which location, what kind of users need high end laptops, so that put more in stock so that we do not have a higher waiting period. A very small step, but all these things make it so smoother. I mean, previously, imagine if a person who is onboarding from his day one of joining till the time he is fully productive, if let's say it was 5 days, if I can reduce it to 2 days, that means I've already attained 66% efficiency.
Yeah.
So that's the way we started looking at things. And it's not, as I said, it's not just about XLA. XLA will ultimately correlate to your productivity, your SLAs, your service quality, your key KPIs, metrics. Everything will improve if you have a happy user, a happy customer, and a happy employee.
No, well said. And you mentioned onboarding and final, full and final, and those whole process. That was one of the first system I automated back in 2002, 3. Or remember in my first company, where we took the onboarding experience right from where a person comes into the organization, his data is captured because I was initially involved in that transformation journey. And what we looked at it, understanding the pain points, because when we spoke to new employees, they're like, we entered information and this place, then we have to again enter the same information here. And
Yeah,
there was so
this
much
happens
repetition.
a lot.
Yeah, and then you have first different trainings that they go through. There's no central repository that tracks everything, and you can't see one dashboard that gives you everything, and that's you're able to drill down, right? So that was the first system I remember. My first LAMP architecture system. We use MySQL, Linux, Apache, and those things at that point. I still remember Dreamweaver, HTML coding, but it was fun, right? So we
It
looked
was.
at those, yeah, those end-to-end automation, and it was, we didn't automate everything. Some processes were manual, and I keep telling this to people now also when they are automating. I said, okay, so automation doesn't mean you have to convert everything to code, right?
No.
You have to first understand the entire process and make sure you have that documented, right? And then you find out bits and pieces which are really key pain points and fix those, right? And once you fix it, then you document that as well, because there has to be a bigger picture always, right? You don't miss out things, and then you keep on improvising. And now when different companies or startups, they kind of have a discussion with me, I tell them, you need to have some database where employees can ask questions. generic questions, right? These are not the age of KB articles, YouTube videos, or big PDF document. Nobody is gonna read it. The latest generation, they don't have that patience, and technologies
They
has
don't have patience to
yeah.
watch a PPT.
Exactly, right? It has to be interactive. They should ask the question that's in their mind. And when I first heard this concept, I was very surprised. But now when I realize it, it's very much essential, right?
Yep.
You have even if you take AI, which is or generative AI, I keep differentiating them because traditional AI is different than generative. So what I keep saying is the AI, traditional AI, and generative AI. Now the generative AI can understand the documents and information, right? There are
Yeah.
workflows you can build on Azure, Amazon Bedrock, Gemini, GCP, wherever, right? ML Studio. You can build those data flows, ETL jobs that will consume your data. You need another AI. You always need to have two AIs.
Yeah.
Many people miss on that. The other AI understands the people, right? Who is interacting, right? The way I consume knowledge may be different than you, right? And the way
Yes.
we both consume may be different than my grandmother. So you need to have personalized AI which understands people, and one AI which understands information. Then you bridge that gap, and that will be the best bridge example, because that can have a better XLA, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, that's it's all about XLAs. And as I said, not everything needs to be automated. Sometimes you have to work with the system that you are dealt with.
Yeah.
And to put it very simply, there is an Indian word, Hindi word for it, jugaad.
Jugaad. Yeah, I know. So
You
I
have to
have a very
figure
good
out
example.
ways.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, uh, we had a client that doesn't have, I mean, user didn't understand what shared folders are, how do they request access for it, and at times automation will just pick whatever is provided in the parameters
yeah.
and they'll just execute it, and it used to fail. So we knew that it's not going to be easy to get every user understand what a NTFS share is, what a DFS is. They won't, and to be honest, they don't care, and ideally they shouldn't.
Right.
So what we did is, um, so we put a small validation step in between. So when a user raises a request, he punches in everything, then there is a human sitting in between who will validate that request in the interim to understand if everything is right or not. If it is, and all they do is they pass it on to the automation engine for fulfillment. So previously, the entire thing was done by human. It was taking, let's say, 3 or 4 hours from the inception to fulfillment. Now, the only part of the validation is where a human gets involved. Everything else is standardized. So we have to work out with what's dealt to us. And as I said, I mean, this was the jugaad that we figured out to see how we can work with what we have. And as you said, everything need not to be automated. You have to see what you can do with what you have. And in certain cases, you will not be dealt with a perfect system. You will not be dealt with a customer willing to spend millions and millions on making it easier for you to deliver things. They would be
Right.
more interested in how you can improvise whatever they have and make an optimum use out of it. I mean, there are various things that the client wants, and in certain cases, they don't even know what they want. So
Correct.
all these things combined together, when you present a picture of this is what your SLA is going to look like, and I have put a wrapper of XLA around it so that it's not just the service that you consume, it is to also ensure that you get the experience that you expected from us as a service provider. Now, that's one part of it. The second part is a happier client will be more prone to become a referenceable client. So they can, it's about word of mouth. So if they market that yes, they got good experience, good service from X service provider, from Y service provider, and then that builds up in the market. And as you said, I mean, startups they primarily uh, relate to these things because they want to grow, and Their brand value can only grow if the customer who is consuming their services are willing to vouch for them, and they can only vouch if they get a good experience.
Correct. No, no, you mentioned very good point about with what you have,
Yeah.
and this was one of the biggest factors. When I was also discussing with the people was startups and unicorn mindset. It's not about burning VC capital, right?
Yeah.
If somebody is pumping in lots of money, doesn't mean you're gonna spend it all and make that as a freebie kind of thing to make the experience better. That's not a long lasting approach, right?
No.
You can't give a lot of freebies or heavy discounts or other factors, right? That's not how you're gonna earn respect. You're gonna earn respect with the correct mindset, with your ability to solve the real pain point and your ability to improvise, which is very essential, right? We talked about the days when grandparents were sitting in a line and a chair was provided, a water
Yeah.
was provided. Now you're waiting on a phone call, an IVR is provided, a callback option is provided, and I'm sure in the future you'll have. I mean, not future. Currently, you can have current AI bots talking to you, right?
Yeah.
It's very practical. You can hire AI agents to talk to you, and they talk, very conversation language with vast amount of information about your organization or the product, right? Back in the days, we used to look at a document to install. Now we're not going to do that, right?
No.
The product has to talk to us, say, this is how I would install, right? If
Yeah.
it is stuck, it should be able to find out from its historical database or look online if you give access that, why is it not working out, right? The human in the loop example you gave, very much required. You have
Yes.
automated few key points, but having a human in the loop who is able to supervise things, very much essential. In near future or in the current, you have fully autonomous system, and the AI can understand anomalies where it feel, okay, now this is beyond my control or jurisdiction or boundary set. Okay, now I'm going to engage a human, right?
Yeah.
So now AI would also engage actively, get a human in the loop. Human doesn't have to supervise, so you can still sit back and relax, and you can see, okay, I have 3 notifications from my AI bot on things that it's not able to handle, right? So overall picture is all about XLA, as you correctly said.
It is. And I mean, as a last thing on this topic that I would say is that this is the second ideology that I analogy or ideology is this is what I follow and how I bifurcate and make it easier for me and for anybody I talk to understand is consider XLA like food. So if you go to a restaurant, you order a dish, you eat it, it tastes good. Taste is SLA. So when the dish arrives, how does it look? How does it smell? So the feel before you even consume the dish, because as you said, I mean, food is something which kind of activates all your senses. So taste is the last sense, which actually is the final, I would say, stamping on that everything is good. So you see food, you smell food. In certain cases you can feel food with hands, you hear crackling sounds and all those. So those are all the senses that are involved before you actually consume the food. The taste is the last sense that gets activated. That's the SLA. Everything else is, typically in my term, if you ask me, is the XLA. How appealing does the food look? How does it smell? So if the texture of the food is not good, you won't be too prone to taste it. So you lose that momentum to to pick up the spoon and taste it. So the the smell, the feel of it, the look of it, these all things attribute to the XLA that we have to look in, not just IT industry, probably I would say in our day-to-day life as well. And taste is something that measures whether it is seasoned properly, whether it is cooked properly. That's the SLA part of it.
Yep. No, that's a very beautiful example, and very rightly said. I'm sure people are gonna stay with that example for long. It will be referenced quite a bit, and it was a good conversation. You have any anything to add when before we close? Anything you want to leave the audience with apart from the food example?
Yes, I mean, the only thing that I would say is that whatever you want to experience personally in your life, in your day to day work, your personal life and professional life, imagine the services that you are delivering to your client and your users. Keep yourself in that state and think on what you would want to experience, not consume, what you would want to experience. So that would give you a directive on how you want to proceed with what kind of services you deliver for your employer, which would be consumed by either your employer, your employer's employees, or your client. So, in essence, try to give the experience to people that you would want.
Yep, and that's very important. You only give people what you would like to receive, so that that's the best of your ability, and no compromises. And just one thing I would add is, if there is anything you see that's not matching our expectation, do speak out. I have seen many people, maybe freshers or who are just joining the industry, they don't come up and speak out these small problems or the things they are observing, because even the tiniest detail from a third person who has not been in that team or organization could impact a lot. So make sure you voice out your concern if you see any. Right? Don't keep quiet. Keep talking. Come in a talk show or talk to people. Socializing is a very important skill, right? There is no system in the world that can run silo or independently. There is no human who can survive
Yeah,
silo or independently, right? So you need to connect, and collaborate to elaborate is one of the platform you can use. There are many, so make sure you connect with me or on XLA on your topic. So thank you so much, Sukant. It was really a pleasure talking to you, and with your great experience and the examples you gave. I really had a very memorable and enjoyable time. I'm sure people who are gonna watch this later or live would definitely enjoy it as well.
yeah. Thank
And
you,
I'm
Rico.
sure we can connect on future topics on different experiences that you have. I think you have a lot of skills that I can see from your LinkedIn profile. So that's pretty overwhelming to cover in one talk show. So I now understand why you want to dedicate this to XLA.
Yeah, I know
But
it's.
I think we can
I
talk
mean,
on
if
other
I
topics.
dwell into topics like identity, IGA, how cybersecurity and zero trust, how integrating all these in the coming, when you look at AI and accountability of who accesses data when, because in AI world, this is one of the big question that's coming is who is accessing what, even the system doesn't know. So how do you put a watch on it? How do you keep controls on it? How do you ensure that what you should see is what you see, not more than that or less than that? The attacks are going to change. It is evolving. I mean, the way if the technology evolves at an X rate, attackers involve at X to the power N rate. I mean, they are very smart.
True.
So, how do we put controls on this? I mean, if you ask me from a security, if I put my security hat on, there are only two methods or vectors through which you can enter a system or you can cause any kind of harm. One is human, the other one is an endpoint. That's it. These are the only two things through which you enter. And if we focus on these two, educate users, monitoring systems, using AI to safeguard your peripheral. Ankur, that's a topic that we can go on for another 2 3 hours. it's,
That's
it's an amazing discussion topic, and that's something that's catching momentum now. I was reading an article the other day. Security and typically identity governance is becoming very important because all your RBACs, ABACs, zero trust, they will play a very vital role in the coming days with with more and more penetration of AI and the kind of disruption it is going to cause. It is actually causing right now a good disruption, not a bad disruption, but how it is going to increment exponentially. At the same time, we have to ensure that our identity controls, endpoint controls, and most importantly, the monitoring wrapper around it is up to speed with the way the technology is evolving. So it's an amazing topic. It's something which would probably need maybe 2 or 3 hours to go into detail. It's a very fun topic. I love technology. That's something that we can talk on and on and on about it. It's an endless thing to discuss about.
That's true. That's true, and I can see your passion, and
Yeah,
with so much background information that you have on each topic. We'll definitely talk on those topic in future. Uh, with AI, just wanted to add one quick thing. When the transformer paper, the attention is all you need by Vaswani came in, right? Uh,
yeah,
that was 2017. Now, a few weeks back, I think last month, there's another paper the people are talking about is VLJEPA, right?
mm,
The joint embedding architecture. So the only difference is those were based mainly on text transformation and predicting next word, and this is based on context. Now this
okay,
becomes very key because the VLJEPA is looking at context, and that's what is important in all area. I hope
yeah,
the vision model takes it to the next level, and we'll have better systems in future which don't lie and which are very specific to the topic and can address needs, right?
yeah,
So with this, I would like to thank you once again, and for everyone who is watching live and would look at it later. I'm going to end the recording. Just click next. Thank you so much.